Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge USA episodes 6 and 7. I'm your host, Chris, and with me again today is my co-host, my partner in crime, Kahuna, the BK. Kahuna, how you doing?
Very good, Chris. Oh, not very good. I'm better. I've been sick the last few days. I have 3 little plague monkeys living with me currently that I call my children that like to pass on and share everything with me, including germs. So I've been very sick the last few days, but I'm on the upside now. I'm on the other side of it, I think. So if viewers, listeners, if you see me, if you hear mutes or I get off camera, it's probably because I'm just coughing up a lung or something. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here after an amazing week of the challenge. And for anyone in Australia or on my side of the world, happy Father's Day, folks. Today is Father's Day in Australia. I know in the States it's not, but in Australia it's Father's Day. And I'm using my Father's Day card to have a little bit of time for myself and podcast with Chris about this great show that we love, the Challenge USA Season 2.
Yeah, listen, we're very appreciative that you're taking time away. We're going to, have a lot of fun here in the next hour and a half or so when we talk about the 2 episodes, but really appreciative that you're taking some time away from the kids to jump on and talk to all of us. And happy Father's Day to everybody out there.
No problem at all. Trust me. No problem taking time away from the kids right now.
I'm doing you a favor, is what you're saying. You should be paying
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Let's say hello to everybody here in the live. We've got Danica saying leaving public, heading back to the condo. I'll be listening in the car. We're always happy to have you here, Danica, even if you're listening in the car. Elise, welcome back. Lauren, Kiwi Skirt, Willie Lloyd, Georgette, and Lena saying feel better to you, Kahuna. Kiwi Skirt saying, yes, I'm in New Zealand today. It's Father's Day here too. Happy Father's Day to everybody. I always find it weird that Father's Day and is on different days around the world, but Mother's Day seems to be universal. I don't know how that worked out. Elise also saying Happy Father's Day from the States. Oh, well, there you go. Well, what a week, Kahuna. What a week of, action. I'm glad to have you back. We didn't have you for Traitors this week, sadly. Hopefully we get you back on Traitors because it was a big week for Traitors Australia as well. Not that we want to go down that rabbit hole, but hopefully we have you back for this coming week. But this week was fun. Obviously we get Cassidy coming back. She's safe, but now she knows that Wes placed a vote on her. And I spoke to Angel Cake and Reality Realness yesterday on the power rankings, and Chantel mentioned that she was unsure as to why Cassidy is focusing so hard on Wes in the game right now. And I sort of mentioned that the green team basically told Wes to vote for Cassidy, and it was Survivor people included in that, like Desi, who kind of led her astray, and that are now not telling Cassidy the full truth here in regards to what's happened, and is sitting back and is playing this game masterfully, so that Cassidy and Wes have this rift between them where they're focusing on each other. Well, more so Cassidy is focusing on Wes. I think Wes can move on from it. But Cassidy is very upset here in the early stages. What did you think of this, Cassidy-Wes kind of rivalry that is forming here in the game? It does seem like Wes is making a lot of rivals this season.
Look, he's got his longtime rivalry with Josh. That is
the fellow mastermind.
Yeah, fellow mastermind. They've been clashing. And Cassidy seems to have a one-sided rivalry similar to Josh as well. She's got big feelings, and she seems to be playing with them, not using Survivor strategy and logic perhaps, but just, you voted for me, so now I'm angry at you. And I'm going to react that way and let everybody know about it too. Which, like, even if you are that upset by a vote, which, by the way, in the challenge, the way people react to getting votes put on them or whatever is always been so insane to me. It's like they don't know they've signed up for a game or something.
Yeah.
But
How dare you?
but
I thought we
yeah,
were
like
friends.
but Cassidy is not playing with, like head over heart. She's playing heart over head. She's upset by what's happened and she's going to let people know, which again is probably detrimental to the logical smart game. The thing that I didn't get about this process or that whole thing is, why didn't Wes tell her? Or at least
Yeah.
show that, or they didn't show that Wes talked to her about it. Because I would just say, hey, by the way, I did vote for you. It wasn't my choice. Desi asked for it, and she's my team. I was backing her up. Now that I'm
Yeah.
on your team, I'm backing you up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I
it
don't
would have
get
been
why
so
Wes.
simple.
Yeah, I don't get why Wes has to show loyalty to Desi and the rest of the green team in any case. Even in this early stages where he just got burned, he may as well just throw their name under the bus. But maybe he did do that and we didn't see it on the screen. And Cassidy just doesn't believe that the Survivor girls would have sort of thrown her name out
Yeah.
there, and she's Survivor strong at this stage in the game. But there was an even bigger blow up, Kahuna, in the house here in the early stages, because Dusty, my man Dusty, got a couple of stray votes hitting him on this round, and he went off at Tiffany. And we saw, I know you didn't watch The Amazing Race. I don't think you watched The Amazing Race that he played in, but
I
we
did.
saw this Dusty. Oh, did you? We saw this
Yeah.
Dusty on The Amazing Race, the one that got extremely frustrated at one of the puzzles that he needed to solve, or it was the one where he had to like flip over the coins and get like a specific coin and he couldn't get it, where he threw his toys out of the cart and had a bit of a temper tantrum. And it's kind of the Dusty that we saw, come out here. This is the Dusty I knew that is within him. He's a great guy, but clearly, if you push him the wrong way, he's going to blow.
Dusty's
For the
another
wrong
person
reasons.
just in his feelings, just massive feelings that I can't contain. I either need to write it in a letter to another grown man, or I'm going to rage. And you can imagine someone that would put his feelings into a letter like that has enough to also get angry and come out like that. And even more misplaced than Cassidy being wrong about Wes. This is like completely missed. And Tiffany handled that so great. She's like, I didn't vote for you. I voted for Seabass. And so calm in the face of it. And he's just going off. Here's a maybe do this as an official poll. Which one was more cringe, the letter or the outburst, the tantrum or the letter? I was just watching. Go, oh, Dusty, what are you doing, man? Like, he just threw an absolute temper tantrum. I have a 5-year-old son that I think I may need to put into therapy for anger issues. And I can see like Dusty having very, very much my 5-year-old vibes. The way he went off on Cassidy like that, on Tiffany like that.
All right, well, I put the poll up. Which one of Dusty's moments were more cringe, the letter or going off at Tiff? So let's see. Let's make it an official poll. Everybody get involved to let us know. I don't want to give my opinion too. Well, actually, I'll give it. People don't have to follow what I say. I kind of feel like the letter to me was a little bit more cringe. I don't think he's ever gonna live that down. Writing a love letter to bananas. But let's see what people here says in the vote so far. It's 62% of people are saying going off at Tiff, and then the letter has got 38%. So we'll see where that ends up. Ends up. Just a fun little poll there to get everybody involved early on here in the live. But Michelle sort of talks to us, the cameras, and she says we placed a vote on him. Like it was her and some of the other Survivor girls, but we're not going to say anything. We're going to be sitting back. We're going to let Tiff handle all this heat being blown their way. And this is why I know people are like 50-50 on these private votes, because in the challenge, the private vote isn't normally a thing. Normally you have to, say the name to their face with your chest out wide and sort of own your vote. And then people can call you out for voting for them. But I don't mind the private vote and them mixing it up this season, because it is causing little drama moments like this where people don't know who they can trust.
Yeah, for sure. One of the, like, everything always has its pros and cons, right? And one of the downsides of one of the positives of the vote to your face is that you get that moment of drama of I have to vote to your face, and that can cause friction. But what we've seen in recent years, what happens is people just fall in line and vote for the easiest one that's going to cause the least amount of stress, the least amount of friction. And once one vote is said, I'm not going to cop any heat because I just piled on and I did what everyone else did. This one does actually allow real votes, and it's good that way to see the chaos that it can actually, especially when you've got the challengers adding to the chaos by voting randomly for some reason or whatever, but it adds a little bit to the spiciness to the show, and then you get blow ups like Dusty, which is fun. I feel like with Michelle, you know how like even if she wanted to say something, because of the way Dusty was, she would have been like, ooh, no, I'm not gonna say anything now. Like you're just like, I want to say something, but the way he's going off for Tiffany, I'm just gonna sit back. Like
Not
it didn't
worth
matter
it.
if she was trying to hide it or anything. You're not saying anything when someone's just going off in a rage like that. You're like, that's fine.
She did the right thing to stay quiet. Let's read a couple of the comments that have come in since we've had a few discussion points up here. Willie Lloyd says Cassidy's rivalry with Wes makes no sense because Wes voted for Cassidy because of his team. Agreed. Dolores is saying, I just don't feel Cassidy is truly that mad. Cassidy supposedly knows the show and knows drama gets camera time. I feel like it's authentic. I could be wrong, but she seems legitimately hurt by this.
I mean,
I don't know how you feel.
The Bachelor, the episode of the Perfect Match
Yeah.
Bachelor thing, that was genuine. That was like,
she
I'm
was
not
really
even
like,
gonna,
you're not giving.
yeah. Even this joke, stupid thing that makes no difference to anything in the world, and we're just having a bit of a laugh while we're all having fun. She was like, no, Wes is not. No. Like it was full on.
Yeah, that was a bit intense as well. Willie says Dusty didn't even realize that the Survivor girls voted for him. He thought that Tiff voted for him. Yes, W saying Cassidy's rivalry is a cringe as Josh and Total Madness stop forcing it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think she's genuinely not happy. Kiwi Squid saying he'll be so embarrassed when he realizes that Bananas read it on air, think he meant the letter to be just between them. Yeah, it's like a sincere letter to Bananas about, how big of a fan he is. And then, clearly Dusty never watched Survivor, because if he watched Survivor, he would have known about the whole JT Thomas letter to Russell Hantz that also ended up becoming a mockery for years. In fact, Russell Hantz ended up laminating the letter and then selling it for something like $40,000 on eBay not that long ago. So Banana should keep this letter, maybe laminate it. Who knows? Maybe it becomes worth, I don't know if it's Dusty. But...
Would you buy it in a shirt?
Yeah.
Handwritten across a white shirt with some lines on it and stuff. That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh man, and Bananas is like the one person you don't want to write a letter to that to. Like the guy's ego is already so big, you don't need to be feeding that fire. You don't need to be adding to it.
I'm surprised he hasn't done merch yet, to be honest with you. Bananas.
Yeah,
he would have definitely done some sort of shirt with the letter.
I think he has. I think he's done. Yeah, I think he. Oh, you mean like just for this
letter?
Like
the actual text of the letter.
He's done other merch in the past. Like I remember the Bananas backpack and all that kind of stuff. He's like, I'll just live into it. But Dolores says, come on, going off on people is challenge. And the challenge is part of standard operational procedure, but a love letter? I agree. Letters don't seem to do too well. Elise says, Cassidy not wanting Wes to win, fake Bachelor was cringe. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's get into the next day here on the episode. Wes gets a call from his wife. And, quite an emotional moment for him. He, throughout this episode, is saying that he's needing to come to terms with the fact that something that's been a part of his life for like 2 decades potentially is coming to an end, because when he becomes a dad, he feels an obligation not to come onto the show. I think especially in the early stages, Chantel kind of said like this won't be his last time. He won't have the Challenge USA be the place where he retires. He'd do it on the main show. But it's kind of like sport, Kuna. I kind of look at it. Sometimes we don't get to choose when we retire. Like, yes, production loves him, and yes, production would always call him back if he wanted to come back. Mm-hmm. But there's been times where Wes has been missing, and he hasn't had that call back, or he has been busy with other things in his life. So maybe sometimes, you can't choose everything in life. And maybe this is a sincere moment where Wes is saying, I am not doing another season after this. And that he's sort of coming to terms that, all of us at some point, we got to call it quits, and there is a season for everything in our lives. And he's really struggling with this emotionally throughout the episode.
Yeah. And Wes is a seasoned, smooth operator that knows the television game. He knows the show that he's working on. And I'm sure there's an element to the way that he works that puts forward the best possible TV program. Like Bananas, he has a producer's mind, and Wes knows how that works. And this played into a little bit, but I definitely got the vibe that it was genuine. The problem for Wes is that I don't think a lot of other people do. So I think, that vibe of like, do you watch The Office, the US Office at all? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've watched like the first 2 seasons of it. And I love
Okay.
it. It's just one of those shows that I love, but I just kind of sometimes forget that it's there, that I can go back to it because there's so much. Like we're spoiled these days, Kahuna. When we live
We are,
in the age of
absolutely.
like just there's so much TV, it's hard to watch everything, right?
Okay, well, in The Office, the main star, Steve Carell, funnily enough,
Yeah.
very similar to a West thing here, right? Spoilers alert for a TV show that's nearly 20 years old coming up. But in season 7, season 9, I don't remember, Steve Carell becoming a bigger and bigger star. The Office is getting very much more popular. He starts doing movies. He's getting like Oscar nominations. He leaves the
Mm,
show, right? And when they write him out, Michael, on his last day, he actually decides, I don't want to do it where everyone's going to say goodbye. So he's actually going to leave the day before his official last day in the office, right?
right.
And
I'm
on
that
that,
kind of person.
yeah.
I don't like
So
big goodbyes and stuff like that. So
yeah,
yeah.
me too. I hate it. On my last day at the office, I waited until everyone left so I could leave by myself. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to be walked out and blah blah blah. So, um, on his actual last day, which everyone thought was his second last day, he's going around the office trying to have these deep conversations and having these last moments with all these people, and they're all like treating him like normal because they know they're going to see him tomorrow, and they don't really get it. And he's acting weird. No one's picking up that he's kind of leaving except for one person. And I feel like Wes has this attitude where he does think he's going to be leaving, and he's on this. He's like, my legacy, my 20 years, this is all coming to an end. And he's getting all like, there's so many people emotional this season.
Yeah.
He's having all
But people are
that.
getting older, man.
People are
Old age
getting
makes you
older.
more. It makes you emotional, man. Like you
Oh,
become
for
a little
sure.
bit more. You become
Yeah.
aware of your mortality a little bit more. I reckon. And this is
Absolutely.
another
I
example
mean,
of this.
trust me, I'm feeling that. Um, but I think Wes is feeling that in the house. He's trying to go, I want my last season to be like he had that speech on World Champs about the next generation. Then he's come, the next generation for the challenge. You're here because you deserve it. He's trying to be the good guy when he goes out. But people are like, you're not going anywhere, Wes. You're full of crap, and just treating him like normal. And that's kind of
Yeah.
getting to him. And he's,
Yeah, and
and
he's like,
I
"I'm
get
being
it as well.
serious." Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's like, "I'm being serious." I'm actually, and there's a couple of interesting comments that have come in that I want to read. Deanna's one I want to read out first. She says Wes said on his Patreon that he has already said no to 40 because they won't give him a timeline, and he has too many things going on with Beta Blocks, which is his own business, and his dedication to fatherhood. Willie saying Wes could be an All Stars, which is a shorter season for him. Kiwiskid saying we won't see him on the main season unless it's an All Champs version. Otherwise, I think he'll return for All Stars, but not for a couple of seasons at least. And then Elise says Wes already had a hard time coming to the show because of his job, but him having kids on top of that, we may not be seeing him as much. And I mean, that is my thing, because whenever we look at Wes, right, and the reason that he has had many breaks from the show over the years where CT and Bananas kept coming back season after season, I don't think it's because they didn't want Wes. I think Wes would be on every season that he says yes to, but it's just Wes has had a lot of things going on in his
Absolutely.
personal life outside of it. Like the challenge is for him like a fun vacation. It's something that puts him in touch, like he said, with his younger roots, who he was as a kid coming into the show, and he gets to spend some time with like kind of like this dysfunctional family that he's created with the challenge. And I think he does it more for the fun of it. He loves being part of the production. He loves being the showman that he is. But at some point, real life is becoming bigger and bigger for him, and it becomes a thing that he feels like he needs to commit to more. And if it was interesting seeing the conversation between him and Bananas as well, where Bananas was trying to like, help him and give him advice, and he's like, yeah, but you're not a father. And it shows the different directions that Bananas and Wes has grown as individuals on the show, where Wes has grown up. Wes realized that he realizes there's responsibilities and that there's such a thing as fatherhood and committing to a relationship and doing all these things. But Bananas is like Peter Pan. Like he still is like maybe physically getting older, but mentally, I don't know if he's made that shift and if he gets that next level that is awaiting there. And I could say this because I'm kind of similar to Bananas in that sense, where I've never really settled down myself yet. And sometimes my friends that have got kids and stuff, we literally had this conversation before we went live. There's a lot I can like empathize with, but I'm not a dad. So I don't know the struggles of fatherhood or, being grown up like that, because I still live this Peter Pan lifestyle myself. So, did you see that? Did you find it interesting, the conversation between them? Because you can just see how they've grown separately, right?
Oh, yeah. But look, I've got a bit of a secret for you as a father, as an experienced father of 3, Chris.
Yeah, let me
The
get the
secret
notebook.
is no one actually grows up. We're just kids that get bigger. We're like still the same kid in a big person's body, and you still have the same. Like it's not. I don't know. Like maybe some people do. I haven't. I haven't got there yet, but I do see like yeah that they they're on different paths, and it's not that I don't know. It's not that Wes doesn't want to do it or Wes whatever. You do feel a sense of obligation. I know that even when I do, like as much as I joked at the start of this episode thank you for getting me away from the kids. There are times where
Yeah.
taking an hour and a half out of a Saturday or a Sunday morning when my kids are playing at home, there are times where they're fighting and I'm like, thank God. But there are times where, yeah, it's hard leaving 3 kids with my wife and telling them to be quiet because dad's recording in the office. You know what I mean? Like that's
Mm.
difficult. And it's not that I don't want to do this. I love this, but you feel a sense of obligation or a sense of duty that comes with that fatherhood, and that's got to be tugging on him a lot. I also think he's going to be warring with that for years, to be honest with you. When this baby's born, he's going to be over the moon and in baby mode, and he's going to love that baby. But eventually, knowing what you said before, that there's a season for everything, so things come to a close. He knows that his time on the challenge will eventually come to an end. Do you want to use as much of that as you can? Because this is not an opportunity that comes to many people in the world. Does he need it? No, but he's one of the rare lucky people on the planet to have this handed to him on a silver platter. Is that something you can look in the face and go, no, thank you. I don't want this like gift that many people in the world would want. But that's a war that he's going to be dealing with for a long time. My kids are at home and I want to be with them versus this rare opportunity that does not come along often. Do I say no to that? It's tough. Like, I don't know. Because
Mm.
for me, something that, I would never go on the challenge, but something that I wanted to do, like the challenge, something that was so rare, something that was an opportunity that might be able to build other stuff in your life, because he gets a lot of his business and a lot of his
Mm.
success is off the back of the challenge, right?
Obviously,
And
yeah, it gave him a
yeah, and
public platform.
absolutely, and ongoing, it would be the case as well. The longer he's out of the spotlight of the challenge, the less residual benefits he's going to get from the challenge. While you stay relevant and stay current, he's still keeping the same level of whatever perks he gets from that,
Mm.
upgrade in life that he's got. Like he'll still be rich. Like he won't have a
Should we
problem.
have Wes? Should we have Wes if he does end up retiring? Should he host the after shows for some of the seasons and stuff like that? Because I feel like Wes is the kind of guy who, like, he could do that well as a previous player.
Yeah.
Maybe that's somewhere where we still have him involved in a certain capacity. But for me personally, I do think Wes is being sincere when he says that this is
Yeah.
his last season. I get the feeling like he is moving on from the show. I do hold out hope that if they come calling for an all champions, all winners season, that they can somehow get him on that season. But it might have to be a Paramount special. If
Mm.
and here's the thing: the challenge is bigger than Wes. Wes is a big part of the challenge for sure. But if they want season 40 to be that big marquee season for them, and Wes can't make it because of his schedule, then they'll move on from him. I'm sure about that because
Oh yeah.
and maybe that is like that is one of the complexities of doing a season such as that as well, is that how do you get so many champions on a season together and have all their time schedules match up? Because we're talking about champions from different eras here that might be called back, and I think that's the reason why they're trying to create so many new champions now with all these different seasons and shows that they've got, so they can kind of get away with saying, well, Danny McRae is a champion, even though he didn't win on the main show, or Sarah
Oh,
Lucina is a
definitely.
champion. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
Troy, our boy Troy,
Troy.
is a
Yep.
champion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't know. Like
definitely.
that's
And
maybe
also
what we'll
because
get.
even if they could do a proper flagship only winners at war, too many of those champions from back in the day would be, even if they were available, wouldn't be up to the task. You know what I mean? Like the game has changed, kind of thing.
Yeah, Dolores here says, how about a deep dive on Wes? I can respect a man who picks family first. It's refreshing to see. And yeah, and I think Wes has become that person. He's really grown up in front of our eyes. I guess he's still got that kid inside of him, like Kahuna said, and he does the funny stuff and all that. But I think deep down inside, he knows that it's time for him to step up and take on his responsibilities. Troy, welcome to the live. So normally they don't move the dates for any individuals. They just set it and hope the people they want can make it. Troy, welcome to the live chat. It's been a while.
Troy
I
sounds
hope
a little bit like he's been infected by that.
yeah, well, Troy ended up, going to the States not that long ago, unless he's still in the States. I'm not too sure. And I think, that might have coincided with the season that was playing out when they were filming the latest MTV season. So maybe there is some truth to it. Who knows? But it's great to have you back here, Troy, with us as well. Yeah, everybody in the chat, give Troy some love. It's the champion from the Challenge Australia here in the live with us. But yeah, no, it's an interesting chat, and that went a lot deeper, Kahuna, than what I thought it would. I feel like we had
It's
a moment.
Father's Day, man. It's
Father's
perfect
Day,
topic.
and Wes is becoming a father, so the perfect
Yep.
topic for it. But let's get into the daily challenge here. Move on to some lighter things. High Q was the daily challenge, where they were all three teams suspended or put onto these different glass platforms in the air to do trivia. And trivia is one of our favorites. Challenge fans loves trivia and seeing it play out in front of our screens. But I feel like there was a little bit of a cop out with them having the ability to answer in teams. Would you have liked to have seen them answer individually, Kahuna, maybe? Why do you think that they went down the whole route of the team can answer together?
I don't know, actually. I don't know what. I didn't mind it. I like the fact that it was done that way. I didn't see a problem with it, but why it was done specifically over individual, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I
Does it
think
add
that it was
anything
probably
different?
I think it's the complexity of putting that challenge together, where they had these three big platforms that were moving in unison when
Yeah.
they got it wrong. So maybe having the same challenge and everybody on their own individual like glass door or something in the air that they can move became too complex, where they were like, we really want to do this, but we got to do it in teams. And I'm glad that we got it regardless, even though they had to answer it in teams. I thought visually this was a very, very entertaining challenge to watch. I mean, I was trying to picture myself being up on that platform, and I would have been like Dusty, where Dusty was one of the first people out from Red. Even though he seemed to be okay at the questions and answering them, he was sweating so much that he couldn't hold on to the glass. And I'm that person. Like, if I'm up there, I think I would be sweating a lot, like very easily, and it would become very slippery for me on there. But it was fun to try and see them like stick to the glass. Wes with his comment of thick thighs save lives, and Alyssa Snyder and Tiffany both the surprise packages hanging on for their team longer than anyone else when they were nearly at a 90-degree angle and somehow still managed to be stuck to their glass. I don't know how that is even physically possible.
Very impressive. I love the trivia challenge is always my favorite because I come on this episode often and I talk about, how you think about what challenge you could do versus thing. Like trivia is I don't know if we've ever talked about this, Chris, but during the pandemic, I started streaming and all that sort of thing. What I was doing was actually watching old episodes of an Australian quiz show called Sale of the Century, in the vein of like Jeopardy and stuff. And my whole stream was that I would try to beat them. Like I love trivia. I host trivia nights. I do all that sort of thing. And I'm like, I think on this one I was like answering, and I got.
Did you get Steven Spielberg's?
I got Spielberg. The only ones I didn't get, I think, were like the date ones for when the Civil War started. And I even got that Minnesota is the land of lakes. Like I know more about their country than these idiots know about their own country. Like I don't understand what has the US education system done to fail these people so miserably that they don't know what the capital of Canada. Like I'm in Australia. Like what is happening?
Listen, I don't think that they choose the sharpest crayons in the box to go out there and do the challenge sometimes. But it was fun to see. And listen, I'm not gonna pretend like I knew everything, especially the real American questions. I think I may get wrong myself even. But it was fun to see, and even like when they talked about the what was it, the independence or the Civil War that they spoke about, and
Civil War, yeah,
Civil War, and you have Michelle saying what, just the editing, like it's perfect. Like I always love it, and I mean I love seeing and being an armchair critic and pretending like I would get all of the answers right if I was out there. But really fun to see this play out. Let's see what people are saying about trivia. So Lina's saying love trivia, love TJ's love even more. Willie is saying the trivia challenge was amazing to watch. Yeah, a really good job visually, I thought, The only thing that would have made it better would have been to see Darrell up there, because he hates heights, and he would have been in such a panic when it started moving sideways. The only thing I could think as well is, what if they had like a bar at the top, if they wanted to continue with these glass platforms in the future, Kuna, if they have like a bar that they can grab onto in the future, so that if it does go 90 degrees, you have to just hold your own body weight up there as long as you can. I reckon that would be
then
pretty.
It becomes endurance.
So then, if you're good with your endurance, like someone like Jay, who's a rock climber, could be up there for ages answering trivia questions wrong while other people have to outlast them. I think it would be a pretty cool, like you could literally be the worst person at trivia, but still have good endurance and potentially win the game. Elise is saying it was funny when TJ just dumped the winners into the water. Yeah, 100%. They're like, oh yeah, we can get off the platform nice and easy. And he's like,
I got scared at that. I thought they were going to land on each other's head and stuff.
Yeah, and another funny moment, there were so many funny moments. Another funny moment was when Dusty was starting to slide off, and he's looking at Corey next to him, and he's like, bro, help me. And Corey's like, can you not see I'm struggling here? Like, get off me. Just fall in the water. This is difficult.
You're coming down with me.
Yeah, that was an amazing moment. Deanna saying, Tori said on the official podcast that the challenge took an hour and a half. Banana's advice of having leverage with their body is what getting them through it. Interesting. I don't even know how do you have leverage with your body on that platform?
Banana's experience once again.
Yeah. Well, Bananas is good, at getting himself into sticky situations. So maybe that's how they stayed up there. Danica saying, Dolores, hey, I'm at the beach. So it's a bit of a personal comment. At least the blue team literally had cheeks showing in that challenge. There was so much fun. Listen, I saw that. I saw that 100%. They were putting their bodies on the line. Troy saying, oof, a bar would be nice. Yeah, Troy would obviously love a bar on there, like, Ninja Warrior.
24 hours. Let's do it.
We need to see a Troy versus Jay, competition. Like, you remember that first elimination that Jay ever did, where they were basically on these two bars in the air, having to like kick each other off the bar. You remember that? And Jay ended up winning that. Something like that would be amazing to see someone like Troy compete in as well. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Mikatafral says, thank you, Kona, from Minnesota, Jen. Yeah, so what an amazing, Minnesota in the house. Now, what an amazing daily, but obviously Blue wins this. Tiff being the last person for Red doesn't get the last questions. He's out. Wes says that this is the worst case scenario for him because Cassidy's team has now won. He knows Cassidy is going to come for him. And Bananas and Tori has a decision to make. Do they put their neck on the line for Wes at this stage in the game, or do they roll over and let Wes be the target? I thought they dealt with it the best way they could. They have to try and show that they are willing to be team players at this stage. Wes got himself in a situation that he couldn't get himself out of. They were never going to save him in this spot, right? So I didn't really see it as a betrayal at this stage.
Yeah, not at all. Although some of the groups on Facebook that I'm in that talk about the challenge, boy, did they cop it for doing that. Why really? They were getting angry at Corey and Amanda for turning in the Vet Alliance, and now they're doing the exact same thing. I'm like, what do you want them to? I commented. I get into a little bit of, I'll pepper some comments in just to like, what are you talking about? Like, what are they gonna do? Like, it doesn't matter. How about they show some loyalty? Like, oh my gosh, like, okay, and then they show loyalty to the vets, not to the blue. Then they're next. Like, what do you mean? And people are just blind. Once they get, I think, especially because it's Bananas and Tori, like they're already persona non grata in many people's books. But yeah, they didn't have a choice.
The amount of Bananas hate, man, like it's so weird. Like I remember watching the challenge back in the day, and Final Reckoning was my first season. I was like, who's this Bananas guy? He's a bit of a dick, and he's real full of himself. And I just didn't like him all that much for the first couple of seasons that I watched, until I went back and I saw his evolution and everything that he's done in the game. And I'm not even now, like I don't feel like I'm like the biggest Bananas fan. But if you listen to the podcasts that I'm on, or you listen to the opinions that are out there, suddenly I've become like the banana defender on here. And I don't know how that happened. It's so weird. Like I've always been here on Bananas and everybody else has moved. And somehow they're so far in the anti-train that I've somehow landed on the let's protect Bananas because he does have a legacy in the game.
I know exactly
why. Let's
respect
that.
It's because greatness recognizes greatness, Chris.
There you go. See, this is why I've got Kahuna on the live with me, team, because, he's my hype man. He gets me pumped, I just need him to like hype me up every now and again. But
game respects game. Game respects game. That's what it is.
Yeah. Lauren says, agreed. The rankings for Chantal and Drew can be frustrating because of the vitriol people have for certain players. And I think that's, and again, like everybody's entitled to their opinions. But for me, when I look at the rankings personally, I try and take my personal opinion. I will admit, the only person this rankings that we just did that really I did let my personal feelings boost that person up maybe 2 or 3 spots was Desi, because I love Desi. And if I was a bit more fair, like, ranking her number 1, spoiler alert for those people, maybe she's 3rd or 4th at the moment, because I think she's playing a good game, but I can still see her game go any way. But my personal feelings maybe boosted her up even a little bit more because I really want her to do well this season. But for me, I try and keep my personal feelings out of it as much as I can. And everybody's been so low on Bananas, but Bananas is playing a great game, Kahuna. Like, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He got thrown in there. He came in with a massive target, 7-time champion. Yes, did he annoy me when he whined about the fact that everybody doesn't want to give him a chance? Similar to how Wes, who I love, whined about people not wanting to play the game with him. I hate it when they do that. They just got to own up to their legacies because they're some of the best we've ever seen for a reason. People are going to target them, right?
Yeah, and I think listening to the pod you did with Chantel and Drew yesterday, you made a great point, which just stuck in my brain, is that we want this to happen because these the rookies are making the vets play better. We're seeing a good version of the vets play here. We're seeing people have been saying, "Oh, the Vacation Alliance is so boring," blah blah blah. We're now
They've had no
seeing them
opposition.
have to actually maneuver, have to make moves, have to play, and come up with admittedly stupid things like the Operation Hat Trick, but they're trying. They're on the edge, their backs against the wall, and now they're coming out fighting in different ways, and it's really good to see. I think BBG 95 said this is perfect. Bananas is Tom Brady. You don't have to like him because he has MAGA hats in his locker room when he's being interviewed and stuff like that. But Tom Brady, but it's really hard to argue with 7 rings. He is an amazing player, whether you like him or not. And that's very much what it is with Bananas. His legacy is set, and he's now backing it up by playing an amazing game right now.
Yeah, 100%. So I didn't blame, like I said, I didn't blame Tori and Bananas for not falling on the sword here for Wes. He was kind of in a sticky situation. He cops most of the votes here. And then Wes goes on a you just mentioned something very political. I feel like Wes should be in politics himself because, man, was he putting on a campaign. They had the campaign music playing in the background while he's saying a vote for Wes is a vote for a woman. Just vote for a woman. It is a vote for Wes to stay in the game. Do me the solid. And it's funny seeing how by the end of this, he does end up getting, I think, 4 votes on the woman where he received something like 7 votes. So he did give himself somewhat of a chance. He moved the needle when it looked like there should be no way that he should be able to accomplish that because the House seemed so gung-ho on it being a man's day. And it probably doesn't help that there's been so many women's eliminations up until this point. It really was, it was about that time where a man had to go into the sand and defend their spot in the game.
Yeah, the strategy which we see come out in the second episode of the week, Tiffany calls out that, this strategy of putting women in first is going to backfire at some point. Like the men are clearly trying to push it in a certain direction. But the numbers aren't going to play out that way, and the women eventually are going to have to do something. And yeah, the votes come the men's way. Like I can see, like he's obviously playing that the right way. He said, my back's against the wall, but I'm going to try to pull something out here and get the votes. I was like, what are you going to do? Like, how does that happen? And he tried. Like, I saw it. Like, it was really good to see Wes for president with his back against the wall. Not much he can do, still throwing everything that he can. He's going out punching, and that's what Wes will always do. Like, if he's going to go down, he's going down fighting. That's for sure.
Yeah, he respects the game too much. Dolores says, Chris, you said at the beginning, if a vet goes to the finals, it's because they earned it and worked for it hard, and I'm for it. And 100%. Absolutely. I think any vet making it to the final of this season, you got to put respect on their name because these new players coming in, they're not your normal rookies. They don't lie over, they don't, or Seabass.
Oh, never respect
Seabass getting really into that Tory, sort of space, trying to cozy up to the vets, and Dusty. I feel like Dusty as well could have been a rookie on any other season because he was, really kissing up to them early on in the season. So, and I love Dusty. I hate that I have to say it, but it's like, I don't want that. I want that opposition. make the vets play. So that's why I would prefer to have people that actually goes against the power structure.
You know what I
rather than
really love for Dusty?
Yeah.
When Wes was having this conversation with Bananas of what he can do, there was nothing I could do in that room, and Wes is saying, I'm gonna have to figure something out here. Dusty, who wrote a love letter to Bananas, who said he's been a fan of the show for 20 years. There's a song in the Hamilton musical, The Room Where It Happens. I want to be in the room where it happens. He was in the room with Bananas and
How
Wes
cool is that?
talking strategy, discussing, and he's there in
talking
the
about the
room where it
legacy, like because
Yeah.
Bananas had the words where he said this challenge game has been built off the blood, sweat, and tears of our backs for the greater part of two decades. You know, so to hear two of the greats talk about that, to be a fan in that room, like I mean, I'm sure that would have been like that alone would have been his appearance fee for him to be there, and
he
he would
didn't
have
write
been like,
another
I'm so
letter.
happy. I'm surprised he hasn't been inspired to write a country song after this, you know, and put it out on YouTube to talk about his moment
he's got a
there in
name
the
for
room
it.
with.
He's got the right name for it. That's for sure.
100%. Dusty.
Country singer, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I love that. I was like, Dusty's such a fan, and he's there. That's so cool for him. I appreciate that.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because that was a great moment, and I do want to talk and maybe throw this out there because they do end up having Dusty and Wes go up against each other. There is this very controversial arena match that happens between Wes and Dusty where they have to use a crank or untie these different cogs to be able to crank this big podium or this big cylinder that they have to balance on. And I don't know how you felt about this. I spoke about it a little bit yesterday on the Power Rankings. I felt that the way that it was edited, Dusty won that. And the way that Wes reacted afterwards, he was defeated. He felt defeated. Everybody on the sidelines thought that Wes was defeated. It felt to them like Dusty got it done in record time, to the point where Bananas went down there and had this chat with his mate to say, keep your head up high. We've all been here before. It looked sincere. Like you could kind of tell when Bananas and Wes acts. Like I feel like they're not the greatest actors in the world. Like you can kind of see it. This looked to me sincere. It looked like Wes lost this. But production, knowing that this is potentially Wes's last time playing the game, maybe got a little bit too involved in this one here. And even to the point where Kayla, who's very good friends with Dusty on Twitter, and I don't think Kayla did herself any favors, probably by speaking out against production, said that they should have a timer out there that clearly shows all the challenges what time they're actually on there doing the challenge. And I feel like Kayla and Dusty would have had a chat off air about this for her to put this up. I'm sure Dusty thought he won this. How do you feel about it? Like, definitely. I mean, why would Kayla say this? Why would Kayla be the one to come out and defend a friend of hers by saying this? I think conversations happened behind closed doors. And personally, I believe this is the most rigged arena challenge we've ever seen, personally. You know, I know we've spoken about the gambling rules and all that kind of stuff, and they're not allowed to do it and stuff like that, but I don't think anybody has ever held production accountable for anything on the challenge. And I love the challenge 90% of the time. This is that 10% where I'm like, what are we doing? Because I love Wes, but I don't want Wes to win by it being not fair.
The problem with putting a timer on screen is that when you edit a TV show, what happens to that timer?
She didn't say that the timer needed to be there for the viewers. She said the timer needed to be there for the challengers to see. So it's transparent for the challengers so that they know that they fairly lost.
Yeah. Look, obviously, when you how long did the actual challenge go for to undo the knot and stuff? It was a while, right? Like it took a lot.
I'm not sure. But that's the thing. We saw an edited version, so
it didn't look like it was super easy.
Yeah, Kiwi's good saying West won, give it up. Listen, I'm just pointing out the obvious. I get it. Sometimes people are not going to agree with the take that I have. But
for the competitors, I agree. For the competitors, definitely they have a standard to. Yeah, but
if there's nothing to hide, why not?
Well, I also think like, okay, say for example, you have a timer in the arena live for the people watching there so they can know, right? So for example, first person comes out because they're not doing it at the same time. They're doing it one after the other. First person comes out and sets a time limit or a time of 5 minutes, right? Now the second person goes, they're already at 4 minutes 40 and they've got no chance of beating it. Everyone in the arena knows what's their reactions that is going to get caught on camera once it already goes past the deadline and all that sort of thing? Are they going to, how they build that suspense when the suspense is taken completely out of the equation? So much of the challenge when they finish dailies, when they do all that sort of thing, it's TJ delivering the results to get that surprise reaction of who won, who's in the top 3, blah, 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 right? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of different angles. The way it played out for me was Drew mentioned a really good thing in that live yesterday. He said, because they did it one after the other, they have to set up the challenge, break it down, or the challenge broke it down by ripping apart all the knots. They have to redo it, reset everything, then through that process. What's the turnaround time in between that where the people are remembering from half an hour, 2 hours ago when how long does it take to set up? A 37-second difference, right? An hour ago, I went through this process, and now I'm going to remember that there was 37 seconds difference, and definitively choose Dusty won that. So I can see where it's so close that thing might come out. I think what gave that impression to the people in the arena, including Bananas and Wes, was the recency bias and that Wes was not on the roller for long at all. It's the roller bit. They went, that was so short, but not realizing that Wes was probably a lot smoother. He didn't look as frantic and crazy on the ropes. Dusty was going ham, but there was no logic to it. He was just like going crazy, and it didn't seem like he was. Maybe Wes was a little bit smoother with that side of it.
Yeah.
I think it was just that the roller was so fast that people thought Wes was gone when really, I'm not sure. Like it could be either way.
You're making me feel a little bit better about it, because I had a lot of questions coming into this, and it didn't look good to me on screen. And I'm sure if it didn't look good to me, it didn't look good to a lot of other people that watched it. And you're making some great points, and I am willing to admit I don't know 100% if it was rigged or not. I'm hoping that it's not. So I'm leaning towards let's hope the game is pure. Let's hope they didn't do it. But I will still say that put a timer there for the challenges. I get that if you leave it there for the audience, it takes the suspense out of it. But I feel like the challengers should always know. It's kind of like how we want challenges. Like, make it so that they feel like it was a fair fight out there. That's my big thing. You know, we don't need.
And that's the fact that we're even having this conversation is a problem in the first place.
100%.
That there's ever any controversy at all. They need to take that out in whatever way they can. Like, people are talking about the hopper, like how you don't see the name, he puts in his pocket, all that thing. Just remove any instance of it, or at least try harder to cover it up if you are rigging it. You know what I mean? They make it look so, because everyone's going to be like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where it's like, ooh, like they point at the TV screen when you see, like, people
and just so people in the live know this is the first time ever where I've kind of taken a hard stance that it didn't look good. Normally I'm like, I let a lot of things go that I see fandom complain about, and I'm normally on the side of it not being a rigged show. And I really hope that it's not. I really hope that it's fair. But I think great criticism. Another way that they can like eliminate this conversation in the future is by having that timer and getting Kayla back on the next season and not be pissed off at her for wanting to improve the show for the competitors. Because I'm a little bit worried that she spoke out, and I don't know if that's going to count against her. But overall, you know, Wes does end up taking this, and I do think Wes taking this spot, staying in the game, is better for the game, because he makes a very bold move and he ends up taking Chris's spot on the blue team, putting Chris on the green team with two players that Chris doesn't like, which is great to see them having to work together. Wes getting the numbers on the blue team moving forward with the vets was a very important move, because they needed to get some power back in their hands at this stage. They were losing every single vote, being outnumbered in each team. So I really enjoyed that. And I've got some more takes about the team stuff when we get to the end of episode 7. But, you know, the beginning of episode 7 here, we see Wes really playing up the whole moping character. And we spoke about it a few times here. This is a very Wes heavy recap, I realize. But, you know, he's playing up the moping character, wanting people to work with him, doesn't understand why people are not doing it. And Fessy says, surely no one's buying this. And then immediately after, Alyssa Snyder's like, oh, yeah, I really feel like I haven't given him a chance yet. And she's kind of like into
Another good edit. Great edit.
Not a good edit. Another great edit. Good for her. But yeah, overall, it seems to be working with some of the more gullible cast members, but Michaela's not one of them. Michaela doesn't want to hear anything. So what do you think about this dynamic between Michaela and Wes.
I don't think Michaela trusts her own family. Like she just seems, she said, "I don't trust anybody in here." So, and that includes Desi and stuff, I assume. But I mean, I love that about Michaela. She's just got such a like. I don't think it's going to help her strategically in the long term, especially because I would love to see her become a mainstay on the show. I like Michaela. I want her to be part of this show, and I think if she has a good performance this season and gets to the finals, she could be booking that ticket to be one of the regulars, because we've seen so many people over the last couple years and seasons just be one and done and not really worthy of the callbacks that they get. I think Michaela is, and I'm glad that she's getting a bit more of a lot more of a run now than she did in the last season.
Yeah, one of my favorite things, and we kind of missed it on the previous episode, was when they did the trivia, and Michaela is like, "I know that app, it's Hinge, because I still got it. It still hasn't been deleted," you know. And I was like thinking to myself,
that was the other one I didn't know. I swear, wife, I didn't know what that one was.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, I think Michaela's got such a strong personality, and it comes through on the show. I think that is the characteristics of someone that can be great at the challenge, because not only is she physically capable, we know she's smart. I love the whole scene that we have with her talking about how she disappointed people on her previous showings. And then there's this whole fitness montage of her training at night while everybody else seems to be sleeping. And, you know, we very rarely get these training montages of people training on their own. But when we do, sometimes it's significant. Like we had Wes in All-Stars when he won, having his training montage. We had, I think, Turbo back in the day when he was training and eating and running on the treadmill and stuff like that. So I don't know if this is a good omen for Michaela. It may show that Michaela is ready this season to take out a lot of people if they throw her into it. But I think you bring up a valid point. I feel like she's less connected to anyone. Even the Survivor girls, there is somewhat of a disconnect with her where she doesn't trust people because her closest allies have turned on her in previous games that she's played. Even in Survivor, she's been turned on by people like Jay and that in the past, where I feel like there's some scars from previous games coming into the season, which is what is not allowing for her to open up to Wes in any case. And she shouldn't, because Wes is not to be trusted. So she knows better than that at this stage. But I'm really enjoying what she's bringing to the show.
I love that Wes was like, "What have I done, Michaela? Like, really, what
I
is
just
the
want you to
issue
like
with me?"
me.
And then he goes to confessional, goes,
We lost him there.
Actually. Wes just immediately, why no one trusts him?
We just lost you for a second, but yeah, we heard that. So yeah, the confessional of saying, "Yeah, I did vote for her, but she doesn't know that, so maybe she shouldn't like me as much."
Yeah, just proving immediately why people view him the way they do. You know what I mean? Like giving them all the evidence.
I think Lena's got it on the head here. She's saying, but I do think she genuinely likes Wes. I think so as well. Sometimes, you know, you can see they focus on her a lot when Wes is being Wes and he's doing his mischievous things like, you know, getting naked in the pool and all that kind of stuff. And you can see it's a little smile cracking there. I think she does respect and appreciate him in her own way. But yeah, in this game, she's not going to play with him. At least it's smart of Michaela not to trust anyone in the game for $250,000. The problem is she's too vocal about it. Yep. Because now all of the vets in this episode, they're aware that she is coming for them. And that makes her a common enemy of Team Blue, who's got a lot of vets in them. So I don't know if she's playing the most tactful game, like someone said earlier, but it is an entertaining game to watch. And it's something that I can't wait to see how the rest of the season unfolds. But let's talk about the daily challenge here. The daily challenge was wreck and roll, where they had these big spheres that they were in, and they had to run over these big pillars with different tires on top of it that had letters. And then they had to solve a word puzzle on this big board. And again, I thought they hit it out of the park with this one, Kahuna. Nothing new, nothing like that we haven't seen on the challenge before, but just the whole setting, even just where it took place and what looked like this abandoned, almost like mine field, you could almost say, with the rocks and stuff in the back, and it had this big open space. I don't know how they scope out these locations. Must take a lot of work to like go ahead of time and make sure that, okay, we're going to choose to do this in Croatia, but where can we do all these different challenges? I'd love to know, like scheduling wise, how far in advance do they decide on all these challenges? Because it's not like we've said it many times. It's not like Survivor where they just rinse and repeat every single challenge, and they have to build these things and get all these spaces beforehand. And I think sometimes we as podcasters, we don't give enough appreciation for the people that do put the show together and probably the work that goes in behind the scenes to make something like this happen on our screens.
It was brilliant. It was really well done. Like that old American Gladiator hamster ball, but with two people in it, so it can be super dangerous. And then you get all three of them going at one time with people actually running around them. And there
Yeah,
was
that
one
looked a bit
time,
dangerous.
well, there was one time when they had, I mean, I it had to be. I know it was a drone shot, just like quickly zooming around, and it just looked so chaotic. And Michaela, that would be a great combination, Michaela and Wes. Like, you know how sometimes people in their interactions and when they get in fight, there are people who comment, "Oh, they're just angling for a rival season." Like, I wish
Yeah,
Michaela was that calculated. She's like, I'm gonna
she's not.
pick on Wes. She's not at all. I know she's
No.
not, but it'd be great if she was. But yeah, in the challenge, it just looked so dynamic. And again, like you mentioned, like the open flat quarry, like getting that scale. Again, they just go for these large, visually dynamic, lots of movement, everything going on, and it just looks fantastic. And then to back that up with the puzzle side again, the intelligence, you add communication, you've got teamwork, you've got all this stuff all going together with a great visual product that they filmed well, they edited perfect. This was a really good daily challenge, and it was really fun to watch play out.
Yeah, absolutely epic. Some great, and again, it's funny because again, the whole bananas could do nothing right. Bananas is not like fitting in with the young kids anymore and all that kind of stuff. But there's this comment that he makes before they go into the challenge where he's like, I'm a word scrambling champion with my nieces and nephews when I play, and then everybody's laughing and they're really enjoying him. That's what makes Banana so good, because he's got these great one-liners. He does have this fun side to him that I think is, something that is endearing to some of the newer players that come out there and play the game. So I do think he's making some good inroads with them. And then obviously they had West there. They had the most stacked team on paper, and they do end up with a blue team running away with this and getting this challenge sort of done in record time. There were a few times when Michelle's like, I've got to figure it out, or Green looked like they may be able to get it as well. But I had no doubt with having that team together there with the vets that they would pull it out. And they do end up getting this, which means that this puts Michaela in a very bad spot, because she was always going to be someone that they're going to try and target at this stage. But Josh is really panicked. And this is where an interesting part happens in the show, because Josh has to now find a way to make himself safe, because he's not in the blue team. He does have friends in the blue team. So who else can he throw under the bus at this stage? And he chooses to throw a fellow Big Brother player and Tyler under the bus as a bit of a pawn here. So he doesn't have to go up as a direct vote into the game. What did you think of this? I know you never watched Big Brother at all, but I found it interesting because Tyler is close friends with Casey. Casey is close friends with both Josh and Fessy. I thought that there would be a bit of a loyalty thing. I don't understand why Monty wasn't the person that they were willing to sacrifice in this spot. Why did they go Tyler instead of Monty? Try to help me make sense of this.
I can't. I don't know how that decision was made, and I'm even more befuddled by the fact that Tyler seemed to be totally okay with it. He just like rolled over and showed his belly. He's
Maybe
like,
that's why. Maybe that's why, because they knew.
it could be. Monty
Maybe
might have been like, no, I don't know. But it was weird. Like, I don't know why. It was like, like, almost like on Global Championship, last season when Emily wanted to put up Kiki as a sacrifice, knowing that she wasn't going to get put in, and then it backfired. And it seems like they did that same play again. Like, Kiki didn't know, but in this instance, they're like, listen, you're going to be the name, but trust me, we're going to put all, like, I don't, like, no, don't put my name at all. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, if we're Big Brother, if you're saying Big Brother strong, then let's go Big Brother strong. Don't do that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't know enough of the dynamic between the two. I feel like Monty would be more of a threat. Maybe Josh. Okay, maybe if who was going to be the winner's pick was Tyler and Michaela. I don't know. Like, maybe they thought if the vote pick was going to go up against someone, they'd rather go up against Tyler than Monty, perhaps.
I don't know. I think it's a combination of a few things. So somebody in the chat here said, Danica said, maybe it's because Tyler was more liked in the house and they really wanted it to be a girls' elimination, not a guys' elimination.
So if it was Monty, he would have got a lot more guys' votes. Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe. Well, we were speculating. And then the other thing as well is knowing that Tyler is a friend of theirs, maybe they thought that they could smooth it over with him a little bit more, where he wouldn't cause as much of a rift within the Big Brother alliance as Monty, maybe, where Monty is maybe a little bit less connected to them. And he may have said, well, screw you guys, I'm leaving you now and doing my own thing. So I think there's a few things that came into play here. Troy Cullen says, yep, that creates big rifts. So agreeing with you there, Kuna, as well. Willie's saying Monty would be a better nominee because he's big and strong. Elise says, or maybe it's a guy's name was chosen. They didn't have a problem going against Tyler. Yeah, it's possible, but Tyler is no slouch. Tyler's no slouch, man. I'm telling you now, like he hasn't had many opportunity to prove himself yet, but now that it's an individual game, I think you're going to see a different Tyler. And also, if you see Tyler in elimination, I do think he's a pretty decent athlete. I would put in a lot of situations, I would put Tyler above Monty unless it's maybe a hall brawl.
I mean, I hope we see what Tyler can do, because so far I'm not seeing a lot from Tyler. I'm not a Big Brother fan, and to me, he's just another number right now. He hasn't done anything in this show to convince
that's why
me
we ranked
of
him
his
low
status as a Big Brother player.
Yeah, it's why we ranked him low in the power rankings as well. And, a big part of his game, obviously we see Tyler and also Michaela here being nominated with the Survivor players not being able to do anything to put up a resistance. Seabass kind of doing his own thing in the votes, which was interesting. I think it's got to do with the fact that he's with Tori and probably, wanted to appease her. I don't know how he voted or why he voted the way he did, but, both of them are ending up in the hot seat here moving into this game. But then a very interesting scene happens at the party, the night out scene, where Bananas and Wes just creates magic out of nothing. Let's be honest. This is why the producers love them. This is why the producers gets them back, because they can manufacture moments that make for fun TV. I'm not a big, like I've said it many a times publicly, I don't really watch the love shows. I'm not into that kind of stuff, but there was something fun and funny about the way that they put this thing together. I didn't absolutely hate this moment because, they play Alyssa S up and says, hey, you can keep Tyler safe if you go and kiss him. And says the same thing to Tyler. And you can see Tyler's like real nervous. Like, in today's day and age, you got to be so careful. Like, is this going to be, is she giving consent for this? Is she willing? And he's like, yep, she really wants this to happen. So it was a fun moment, I thought, that they had there. And I think that's probably one of the reasons as well, where at the moment when we're looking at Tyler's game and we look at both Alyssa's game, they kind of seem to be there for the lovemaking and the finding a partner more than actually winning the game at the moment. That's kind of been their edit up until this point on the show.
Yeah, I mean, it does speak to Banana's skills of playing it well as well. Because if other people did that exact same thing, it could come off as super creepy and weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the potential for that to go downhill was very high, and he rode the line and played it off perfectly, where it was sweet and funny and cute, and like they're kind of digging each other anyway. Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't imagine them doing the same thing if I was ever on the show. but yeah, Bananas as well, and it is like if Tyler and Alyssa S aren't giving much to the show in terms of competition, then they're definitely booking a return ticket or getting some points with producers by adding this little storyline to the show for sure.
Yeah. So a couple of moments here before we get into the arena as well that happens that I think is important. Tiff has a moment with Alyssa S and Chanel where she breaks down talking about the fact that she feels like she just hasn't been able to show her true strengths at this point in the season, and that she feels almost like inadequate to be there, that she doesn't do well in the challenges. And, we could take the hard stance and say, Tiff, you signed up for a show called The Challenge. You signed up for a show called The Challenge.
Very good self-reflection there.
Yeah, we could take a very hard stance, but I love Tiff, man. I do. I mean, if she's back on next season, I wouldn't absolutely hate it. She's got some great commentary that she gives us. And I said it yesterday on the power rankings. I just feel like The Challenge, like if she can come back, I'll never stop her from jumping on and doing a season because I think she's fun to watch. But if she wants to win the money for her kid, which I think she does want to do, I feel like there's other shows that would be easier money for her to play in.
Yeah, and I do love Tiff. She's maxed out her stats in the wrong categories for sure. Doing it all on social and confessionals, none on physical, none on, scared of heights. She's scared of heights as well. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, so I don't know. Like she doesn't add a lot to the game. She adds a lot to the show. And I do love Tiff. I think she's a great character. I love her interaction the way she handled Dusty in the previous episode. I love her call out for Josh in this episode. Like she brings a lot to the television screen. She doesn't bring a lot to the competition.
Yeah, her call out to Josh was phenomenal, man. Like when she ended up having to go into the sand and she's having a moment, and Josh wants to make the moment about him because he feels
Of course he does.
shots are being fired. Like he always wants to make the moment about him. It's like, how do you say that? I've been looking out for you, Tiff. And she's just like, well, why don't you use that energy to come down here in the sand and fight for your spot in the game? I absolutely love Tiff calling him out on his bullshit, on the game. And
but I love,
that's why
the main line of it at the start was, "It's not about you, Josh. It's not about you." Like of course, just Josh. Everything's about me. She's not calling you out, mate. Like
yeah. And Lauren, I said that yesterday. I said the mole traitors. There's a couple of things. Obviously, she's good friends with Corey. Not Cody. Cody. She's good friends with Cody. They do like some of the, I think, the recaps even for the challenge. Like she was on Big Brother earlier this season on Cody's podcast. So there's probably connections there where I wouldn't be surprised if we do see her in Traders in the future as well. You can bring up that comment, Kona.
When we talk about challenge, the elimination.
Yeah, go for it. Well, actually, no. Let's before we get into the elimination, one more. We'll get back to that comment there in the future when we talk about the elimination. But I wanted to bring up also, just before this happened, there was a very important conversation that happened between Desi and Chanel after the vote, where Chanel's trying to get information from Desi in regards to what happened at the vote. Desi said there were certain people for the vets that were just off board. They were not on board. They couldn't go for them. So obviously it's the people you'd expect, like the Joshes of this world and the rest of the vets. But Michelle was in there as well, which comes as a bit of a shock to Chanel, who's been working very close to Michelle, because Michelle is saying that she is close to no one in the game but the Survivor girls. So Michelle is starting to get caught as someone that is playing two sides of the game here. I feel like we're getting shown this for a very good reason. And in hindsight, thinking about it, Michelle, we should have probably ranked her even a little bit lower than what we did yesterday in the power rankings, because I feel like the storyline is being set up for Michelle to get called out pretty soon for playing the middle ground here.
Yeah, it's playing the middle ground. I don't remember a time where it's actually successfully worked. Like playing from the middle, playing both sides. Yeah, it doesn't work, because in a house that small, with the votes usually visible, or with the results after the votes, finding out, depending on how, the dynamics of that particular season, everything always comes out to light. And even when it doesn't, the next season, because they all come back, it all comes back to play anyway, right? So Michelle doing this, playing both sides, even if she does go further this season, next season, it's all going to come out. It's not the way to play the game. You kind of almost have to play a little bit more heads up and pick your team and make your team, like when I say team, I don't mean the three teams, I mean your alliance, as strong as it can, and maneuver that. But you kind of got to stick with it a little bit. She's done well to get to that. I think it will get you to a certain point, but it doesn't get you the win. And that's okay. If you're trying to get further in the game and survive one more day, then playing that way is always going to help a little bit, but it has its limitations. So it's like higher floor, lower ceiling kind of play. And we're going to see that exposed, I think, in the next couple of episodes for sure.
Yeah. PTS says Landon played the middle to Western Fresh Meats too. And I think that was a different time. I think there was a time where you could maybe get away with it a little bit more. Yeah, I think the game has evolved quite a lot. But that strategy that Michelle is using is a classic Survivor
I don't think
strategy.
Michelle can back it up like Landon, though.
Nah. Landon was like, if you throw me in, like, let's see what happens, And
like CT kind of plays not the middle. He doesn't play both sides. He kind of just, I'm my own thing. He's like one man army, like whatever, like don't involve me. People don't put him in because they're scared of him. People don't bring him in because they're not on his side, whatever. But that's a very different scenario. If you can back it up, you can go solo in a game like this, like a Mike Holloway in Survivor, just play it out and win your way through when you can back it up physically.
Yeah, Troy saying he played the middle ground in his season with his boy Marley, and you were lucky, Troy, too. Yeah, but in some ways he was like, and again, I mean, I wasn't there. Troy would probably be like, I wasn't lucky. It was all planned. But, Marley was kind of like that person who got shot in the middle, like lucky he took a bullet for you. And then you went on to continue on in the game. So I think if you've got 2 people or 3 people playing that middle game together, maybe there's strength in numbers. But if you're like an individual playing that middle game, I don't know if it happens all that often these days. But Michelle's not doing it effectively, I think, is the thing. And there's too many people talking and too many relationships in this game that is sort of muddying the water, and that information somehow is getting back to Chanel and Desi, and they're aware of it. And that's what's important. So I think at some point, Michelle's going to get some friendly fire coming back her way, or they're just going to get out of the way of a bullet coming Michelle's way. Because Michelle's talking like, I can't protect my Survivor people long in this game. When I'm like, I feel like they're kind of protecting you at this stage. Because how many dailies has Red won? Like, how much power has Red had in the game up until this point? I don't think you're protecting anyone at this stage, Michelle. And the game is becoming individual. Troy says, yep, he was my shield. And I think that's the great strategy. If you play that middle game and you've got a shield with you that can take a bullet for you, then it's almost like, playing a Nintendo game and having like an extra life in the game, where if you get taken out, you've got another shot at going to the end and winning. But yeah, that's all the strategy talk I wanted to get into. Tyler and Michaela, they do end up going into the arena here. And Michaela walking in says, oh, basketball, and then gets asked, are you good at basketball? And she's like, no, never played it before, but I'm going to give it a crack today if I do go in there. What did you think of this challenge, Kahuna? Did you like this? I know you're a bit of a basketball fan.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the pole because it reminded me of the polecats from Mad Max Fury Road. Like just that whole swinging, like it was really violent swing. For someone who's scared of heights like Tiff, absolutely terrifying to be up there. I can't imagine why she even made one. But that was the comment before I wanted to show. No, not that one. This one. I think it's weird that they show Tiffany being emotional about being a weak player and then proceed to show that elimination. She only scores 1 point. And the fact that when she scored that 1 point, they gave it like 3 black and white slow motion replays.
Yeah, they overplayed it so many times. Like, it's like, what are we doing here?
I love that. It was so funny. It emphasized even worse how bad she was. Like, what they could have done is maybe edited like with the way they edit, and they can do like they did Luis dirty last week with the edit by removing his actual round win and made him look like he got completely trounced. In this one, what they could have done was just show her doing the back and forth, show the ball coming out of her hand, and then just show the ball going through the net again, like one more time. Just so she's like it didn't. They could have made it look like she got 3, but 1, and then they emphasized how it was only that 1 by making it feel like the biggest. It was the game buzzer championship winner. Yeah, she got 1, and then everyone went crazy. As a fat guy that gets pity cheers in the past sometimes, I know that feeling of people go, oh yeah, you did it, good job. The condescending clap. She got that so bad, and I felt bad for her. But Michaela looked awesome up there. She was swinging back and forth. She was getting swishes. She's like leaning way back and doing the Jordan pose. I'm surprised she didn't have her tongue out like the whole time. Like she would have
do like the no look score, where you like look away when you score. Can you imagine if Marley was on this season? Talking about Marley, because Troy just said, yes, Marley and I still chat all the time. Caught up just before we went to America. Can you imagine if Marley was on this season? Marley would actually play basketball. We would have had an actual basketball player on there. It
was a great challenge. Again, visually entertaining. It looked awesome. The level of difficulty was really high. It seemed like it took Michaela a long time to get the hang of it. I was going to say the swing of it. But it seemed like it took a while to figure it out. But once you got that muscle memory, that's how the challenges should be. There should be initial figuring out process. What is the process here? What is you don't want it to end immediately and people just nail it. But they can figure it out and then get competent in it as the more you do. And Michaela's showing great skill there because that looked difficult. It's hard.
Not just skill, like athletic ability, like the amount. Like she spoke about the pressure that it put on her forearms. And I can imagine even your core, like you'd have to have like a very strong core, forearms. Your balance, you're moving, and you're at a weird angle when you're doing these shots, and the hoop's not that big. So to hit it as many times as she did, it's not a normal basketball hoop. Like she really impressed me, and she showed that she's got that ability to adapt on the fly when something gets thrown at her, and she's got to do something as almost carnival like this challenge and dominate at it. I mean, she did go up against Tiff, so it's hard to know how she would have done against some of the other capable girls, but it seemed like she went through that very, very fast. So I'm very happy for her that she got this first win under the belt. And then I love the fact that she's got that fighting words afterwards, almost to like prove to TJ. TJ's like, oh, well done. And she's like, it's amazing what I can do on my own, taking shots at her partner that was useless in her first season when she got eliminated. And she ended up trying to carry the weight for both of them and couldn't get that elimination done. So she's like, if I'm not shackled, I'm going to be winning a lot of these, TJ. So you better get the popcorn and get ready for the era of Michaela, because I've arrived. This is the Michaela era of the challenge, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm getting behind her. I think that she's got that fighting spirit that I like to see in a competitor. I don't want to bring up a comment from earlier on that Lena also said here. She said on the official podcast, she actually said that, and this is now Tiffany, she trained for the season, but she said women in the house was extremely strong competitors. And I think that I mentioned it yesterday as well, Kuna, that at the end of the day, I think that her being about 10 to sometimes 13, maybe even 15 years older than some of the people she's competing against, that is very tough to do if you haven't been an athlete your whole life. Like if you've trained your whole life, like yes, Banana still does well. I think Cara Maria in her 40s will still be very dominant because she's keeping her fitness up like she should do. But if you've not been there, like you can't in 6 months or in a year, I don't know how long it was when she did USA 1, you can't train for 20 years of not training. That it doesn't, your body doesn't work that way. You can't get it all, like it's going to take time. So I feel like she's really out of her depth here, sadly. But to close it off on this one, she gets the opportunity at the end, or we thought Michaela's going to get the opportunity to defect and go to another team. And TJ then says, well, that's now changed. It's an individual game moving forward. What did you think of this twist? Would you have liked to have seen the team dynamic play out a little bit longer? Because I'll be honest, I've really enjoyed teams this season. I don't even know if I want to go to individual.
Yeah, I was actually really shocked at first because I didn't even think that it was going to individual. I thought it would be teams. So when he said, no, you don't get a choice, I was like, what the hell? That's not fair. Like, he earned her spot to be able to get on the blue team. By the way, can I just make a quick aside? Cassidy, when they changed from teams to thing, she has said so many times this season, and it's pissing me off. I built this team. I originated this team. Like, Cassidy, Bananas, Wes, Desi went on your team and took people from it. That's not your team anymore. People joined that team.
It's the vet team.
Like, I picked it. Like, what are you talking? Anyway, so yeah, she's right though. Like a team that is in a power position, getting that power taken away has to hurt because you've worked hard to get to this point, and now you're all starting from scratch. So the red team that has been struggling the entire team and now on equal footing as the blue team that have been dominant the entire way. I don't know the equity of that sort of process, and maybe they just wanted to stop the dominance. Like that, I don't know. Like actually, probably not. Like they plan challenges out well in advance, months, whatever. But it was clearly going to be a pagonging, like a two-way pagonging here in the challenge, and the blue team running away with it, it seems, especially as more people wanted to join them, making the other teams weaker in the process. That's the downside of this, of the changing swapping teams thing, is that you strengthen the strong team and weaken the weak teams. I've already lost, and I'm going to lose another player that potentially, that just won an elimination. So we're proving that this player is strong enough to win an elimination, and now they're going to join the strong team. There's a downside to that, but so I guess that's a good thing. I do want to see these players play on an individual basis because you don't get that protection from your team. So someone like Cassidy that can go, this is my team. I picked it. I specifically chose this team. Now she doesn't get the protection of a Tori and a Bananas and blah, blah, blah being on her team. She has to play for herself. So I appreciate that. I didn't know it was going to come this early because there's still a lot of people at this point. But it is interesting. I can't wait to see how it plays out, but I am surprised that it kind of switched it up so heavily. You know what I mean?
Yeah. BBG95 says, I wish the challenge would just commit to a true team season, which is my favorite format. Teams are not my favorite format, but we haven't had like a proper team season since War of the Worlds 2, I think. So I'd love to see another team season. So I kind of feel like, maybe another round or two would have been good to see how it would play out. Like I would have loved to have known who Michaela was going to take Tori's spot. So, again, knowing that she wasn't necessarily going to take the weakest link out of blue and make it stronger by taking Cassidy's spot. She was going to take Tori's spot in that team. So there's always this possibility that someone else gets thrown back in there, and the fact that they can defect and choose a spot in the winning team, I think was good. It kind of kept the game flowing in a way, and it made it interesting. So I would have loved to have seen it play out a little bit longer than what it did. But, we are going to go into the individual stage. And then the counter argument, you made a really good argument with Cassidy potentially now being exposed. I think Alyssa Snyder is going to be exposed. Monty will probably end up going in at some point. Seabass, he's been sitting nice and cozy there on the blue team. He might get exposed a little bit at this point. So I am willing to see where things are going to head. And Danica believes that this means that Cassidy is in trouble. And also she says that the vets are going to start playing from now. But this could also count against the vets, because the vets kind of found strength in numbers in that blue team where they had a spot where they had the majority vote. So unless they outright win, they could still go up for a lot of votes here if newer players start winning it. And one of the things that stood out for me, Kahuna, as well, is that Chris mentioned that this opens up his game now. I don't know why we got that comment from Chris there, but he said, I have made a lot of relationships in different teams, and I can leverage that more freely now moving forward in the game. So maybe we're going to see Chris making some moves as well moving forward here in the game at this stage, Kahuna. Even though, he's kind of been in the background. He's just been there. I want to know what's going to happen with him, Tyler, and Monty. Are we going to get satisfaction from seeing that rivalry blossom on our screens, or is that just going to sort of fade back into the background?
I hope so. I hope we see it more play out, especially now that he's not, like, when he wasn't on a team with them, he was happy to, like, feud with them to their face. And then he was on their team, like, oh, I'm on the team now, which protected him a little bit because
he became the leader. Tyler's like, we don't have Wes here. He's like, we don't have Wes here, but we've got Chris. He's going to lead us in the challenge today.
That's like, really beta. That's really beta behavior as well, by the way. That's like writing a letter to Bananas. Like, Tyler should have said, "There's a leadership vacuum. Wes has stepped out. I'm now, Mr.
I'm now
Green
the man. I'm the man. I'm the top dog. I'm the top dog in this team now.
He's like,
Tyler team.
Oh, welcome, please, Chris.
Lead the way, Chris.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to do for someone like that. But it does open it up completely. We get a new game now. It's different strategy. Even like you said, it could backfire on the vets because right now only one vet wins. Like male and female, like even if the vets win everything, only one win. Only one is guaranteed that power, so they can put someone in, but you can't protect yourself from the votes. There's no winning team that's safe anymore, right? So that opens up a lot more possibilities, but it also means that the people that are weaker, that are getting saved by their team, they're no longer in that process as well. So not just the vets, because right now I think the vets, as far as the challenge goes, like physically, strategically, performance-wise, and historically, experience, everything, they have to be some of the more stronger options in this game left. The vets are clearly playing a better game. They know what they're doing. We've seen so many times Johnny's Bananas experience, even just we mentioned today, like the fact that he was the one that suggested how to lie on glass properly. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, these are the sort of things that they don't have in their tool chest. And the vets have that. And this is where they can kind of, I guess, exert more influence when they don't have the numbers in a team. I don't know how it's going to play out when there's now more numbers as well, so.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. More balls for the hopper now moving forward in the game, which is always good. It's going to make it a bit more random as well in regards to who's going to go down there into the arena. But that is it here, Kahuna, for this week's recap and review of episodes 6 and 7. We had a great live audience here. So if everybody can do me a favor and hit that like button to help this video get recognized by the YouTube algorithms, it would help immensely. So please make sure you smash that before we end this live. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already. We're bringing out a lot of content. One of those pieces of content is going to be an absolutely new show that we'll do another live today in about 36 minutes from now. It's going to be Wheel of Time, our first scripted TV show. It's on Amazon Prime for those that are watching that. Similar to Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. Season 2 started off with a bang. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. So I've got another co-host, the new co-host, Will, who's also a real-life friend that I've had for years now, that is jumping on. He's read all the books and will be with me to talk about Wheel of Time. So really excited about that. We already have Lena saying, I'm excited. I'll be there. Well, Lena,
Nice.
we'd love to have you there. So, there's just enough time to go, grab a drink, maybe eat a snack or something like that and get ready for the next live. And for now, I'm going to say goodbye. And
Can I do a
I
quick
will see
plug,
you
Chris?
guys. Yeah, go for it.
So some of you don't know out there, a couple weeks ago, about 8 weeks ago, I had surgery. Some of you do know. I missed a couple episodes because of it. It was actually weight loss surgery. And a few weeks ago, I tried to do a live Q&A on the process, how I'm going, all that sort of thing. I'm going to be doing one this week. If you want to come to my live, it's going to be an Ask Me Anything. You can ask about the process, about my weight loss, all that sort of thing. Kahuna Vision is my name on YouTube. I think I'll probably do it Wednesday. I haven't booked anything in, but I'm going to do it Wednesday night Australian time. But if you want to check out, come and say hello, have a chat with me. I'm pretty open, and we'll talk about all the struggles, all the positives, anything that I've gone through in trying to lose weight, because I've been about 600 pounds for most of my life. And now I've lost in the last, however much, I don't know if you know this, Chris, but I put up yesterday on Facebook, since I had a failed surgery a few years ago, I've lost 100 kilos, triple digits, which is
well done, man. That's massive.
220 pounds or something. So yeah, I know I've got a long way to go, but I've done a bit, and people are curious and want to ask questions, and people in my life who care about my well-being. I don't know if people in the chat might feel the same way, but if anyone's ever curious about what it's like to live in a body that's bigger than the rest of the world, come and say hello. I'm gonna be very candid about my struggles and talk openly. So Kahuna Vision, I might put up a link later on, maybe, but
yeah, I'll put it up on the community tab. I'll put it up in the community tab on this channel as well. I'll make a announcement of your live when you're doing it.
It might just be a one-off.
Go and follow.
No, not Kahuna Vision. Sorry, I apologize. That's the wrong channel. My weight loss one is called Fat Dad Slim. That's what.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Fat Dad Slim.
Make sure, Kahuna, make sure after this live, because I may forget, jump onto the comment section and put a link to it on the comment section for people that are watching this later on to go and follow and listen along as well. Kahuna, I'm super proud of you, man. Like that's big steps you've taken. It's a big journey. You're with us on this journey in the coming years. Like you said, the greatest thing about doing these lives is that you get to physically see yourself change as well, in the coming months and years as well. And get on board with that. Get behind Kahuna. I think it would be a great live. I'll make sure to go check it out as well. Anything else you wanted to add, Kahuna?
That's it, mate. I've loved it. Great episodes this week. Great coming back. Thank you, everyone. It's been fun.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out the live, and we will get you guys next time. Bye.